Yeah, what's up? Oh yeah, I know The Shining. What? You think the ending of the movie was better than the ending of the book? Hey guys, Devin here, back with Starting Point, and today we will be talking about The Shining. Now, this is an American classic. Everyone knows this story. Everyone's either seen the movie or read the book or done both. For me personally, when I was like, I don't know, I think I saw it when I was like 8 or 9 maybe, but like I didn't really know what was happening. I just knew bits and pieces of it. When I came to reading this book, I was pretty excited to get into it because, I think there's still a lot of the material that I wasn't familiar with. So I kind of went into it a little fresh, not too fresh, but like it didn't take away the story from me when I read it this time. Now, I read this book in probably like a week or something, and it was really, it wasn't as quick of a read as like a lot of other things because for me, I found this book had a lot of like, stopping points. It's the first kind of like pretty decently sized, Stephen King book I read because the other two were like 300 pages. This one's like, 600 pages on paperback or 670 pages on paperback, something like that. But, if you don't know The Shining already, it was made in 1977 by Stephen King, obviously, and it was his third ever published book, and it got immediate success. You probably have heard of the movie if you haven't really heard of the book. It's considered a classic horror movie, but it's known heavily for like swaying away from the book material a lot. But in all, both of them are great. Watch both the movie and the book. I never watched like the 1997 like TV show, but I saw clips and it doesn't look appealing to me. It looks really B movie-ish. So I'm not gonna talk about that at all. If you don't know the plot of The Shining yet, it is about a man by the name of Jack Torrance and his family. Jack applies to a position of caretaker at the Overlook Hotel during the winter, in which everyone who like works there during like the summer and stuff, they go on vacation, they go to Florida, they go all this stuff because the roads get really bad over there, and no one wants to stay in a hotel for months without anything. You know what I mean? So then Jack applies for this job and he ends up getting it, and then him and his family have to move into this hotel all by themselves, isolated from all of society. And then they come to realize over a period of time that, there's some demons in this hotel. Literally. Now, Jack Torrance, our main protagonist, is struggling with a few issues. He's had a alcohol addiction in the past. He's had, a history of, abuse. Jack is also a struggling writer. He moves into this hotel for a big reason, to finish his play that he's writing on. He's had a couple successes with short stories before, but, he's, suffering from writer's block, and he just can't seem to get out of it. He has many problems, but the main thing is that he is trying to change. He is trying to get better. He is, trying to at least become a good man for his wife and his kid. Also, if you don't know already, this part of the video will be spoiler-free, and then the second half of the video will be full of spoilers. So beware of that. I'll let you know when there's spoilers. But for now, I'm just going to get into the spoiler-free talk. And then if you haven't read the book yet, then you can leave the video then. But, stay for now, please. Stay for now. I'd like you to stay for now. Yeah, but he came upon this idea by actually, like, staying at a hotel in, Colorado? And there was a room 217, which was, like, haunted that they stayed at or something. I'm not too quite sure, but it's something like that. The thing that stuck with me the most is I liked that the dynamic between, the family. I thought that they actually loved each other, and I thought that every one of them was compelling in their own ways. Obviously Jack was struggling with his own sanity. He has his kid Danny, who has like a person named Tony, who's kind of like his alternate personality, who he talks to and who kind of makes him see the future almost. So he has these visions. Tony tells him what's bad or not. Tony helps him read minds. So like it's a very cool dynamic between Danny, and then once you meet a certain character at the Overlook. Danny is also very wise beyond his years, is what I've also found out. The way he talks like an adult. Sometimes he talks like he's more mature than the adult speaking. Like, he gets people, he gets feelings, and he understands things very well. He's very emotionally intelligent, I'd say. And then you have the wife, who is Wendy, who is basically kind of fed up with Jack at this point. Well, I wouldn't say fed up, but like in the past, like the last years, she was thinking about divorce. She's thinking about divorcing Jack because, his alcohol got so out of control. But then after Jack, accidentally broke his son's arm, then Wendy was going to divorce him. But then all of a sudden, Jack just cold turkey stopped. And then he's been sober ever since. So then Wendy doesn't really have a reason to divorce him anymore. But at the time of them moving into the hotel, I'd say they're up in the relationship. Things are working out, they're fine. Nothing bad has been happening. But, she still thinks about it. She's still scared of Jack. She doesn't trust him with Danny. And she still gets jealous at the relationship between Danny and Jack. My favorite thing about this book is just the atmosphere it creates. And just, like, I don't know, it's such a great, like, spooky vibe. Once you read it, you're sucked in immediately from the first page. Like, the first, 100 pages or so, they're not even about the hotel. They're establishing the family lore. You fall in love with these characters right away. And then you get into this hotel. And things seem great at first. But then it slowly gets up. That's the thing about this book. It's a slow build. It just slowly gets worse and worse and worse. And eventually it gets to a breaking point. And honestly, you should read this book because the characters are so great. But also, if you love gothic horror, if you love, ghosts, if you love spooky stuff, if you like, supernatural events happening, this is the book for you. And also, I'd argue, if you like tragedies, if you like the downfall of people, this book is for you. There's still really great touching moments, and I just think it's a great story. It's a slow build, it's a classic, and there's no reason for you not to read it. Okay, I gave my my brief summary, so now we will be getting into spoilers. So if you have not read this book yet, obviously click off, please. And yeah, we're gonna get into spoilers now. Now I want to talk about Jack again. Jack is a great character in this book. He, throughout the whole entire book, I was rooting for him to succeed. I was still rooting for him at the end, even though, the ghost succumbed to him. Or he succumbed to the ghost. But I was still rooting for him the whole time. Like, throughout the beginning, you read about his past, how he, how he beat up the kid for slashing his tires, and how he got fired from his last job. And how he is struggling with alcohol addiction. And every night he gets drunk. He's partied out for 3 a.m. until it came to like a crashing point where he almost hit someone. And Danny could tell. And then, Wendy was about to divorce him. So then he was like, just, let's talk about this in a week. And then he never stopped again. But every single day, it is a struggle. It is a fight to stay sober every single day. Is a fight to do the right things every single day, which I think is, the main point of the story, because I've never suffered from like alcohol addiction or anything, but like you can tell, like the way King describes it, you can tell how hard it is for him to not drink. His lips are getting dry. He's like every constant moment, he's like, God, I could just use a drink right now, but he holds off, and he has had a bad past, but you see it in, his family, how his dad treated his mom, how his dad treated his kids, and how it's rubbing off on him, and how he's trying so hard not to succumb to that, and how he's trying very hard not to fall into the same trap that, his dad did. So throughout the book, you want him to succeed, you want him to get going, you want him to finish his story. And that was my favorite part of the story. Is just you wanted to see Jack succeed, and eventually, as you slowly see him unravel, you can just tell that it's not gonna work out. And then the scene that hit me was when he tried so hard to stay away from alcohol because it was the downfall of Jack. And then once the ghost got him drunk, I don't know if he actually drank or if it's just like made him feel drunk. But once he actually drank, you knew that it was the end. And, it was just kind of, Jack was just seen to me as a tragic character and someone like you kind of always knew would not, survive, but it just hurt seeing him fail like that. And then like he's slowly been haunted and he's, obsessed with, during his job, he has to do his job. And then once he goes downstairs and finds all the scrapbooks down there in the boiler room, then he starts to get obsessed with them. Like he started reading them every day for hours on end. Not looking at his family, not even going upstairs, just looking at the scrapbooks, finding more history, and then wanting to write a novel about it and try to kind of expose the hotel. And obviously, when he told, his higher ups that, obviously they weren't happy. Like he almost got fired. But like his obsession with the hotel just kind of consumed him. And, all the monsters consumed him to the point where he wasn't himself. I also thought the story made it very evident that when he was finally, turned, we could say evil, that it wasn't Jack. It was something else. It was the hotel in Jack's form, which I thought was a really clear and great distinction. And because you got moments at the end where he was about to die, when the hotel was about to blow up, that he looked at Danny and he said, "Danny, I just want you to know I love you." Like things like that. It shows that he's still good inside, but the battle every day just finally got to him. And then we got Danny, who is seeing, visions of, bad things about to happen. As soon as he gets there, as soon as he gets into the hotel, he can tell that, something's off about here, something's off about the vibe. So no, he's not sure how to feel. Tony is obviously not something he could control. You can tell from the very beginning. It's not something in his head. It's, something supernatural like. And then once he finally meets, Dick Halloran or Halloran or something, I don't know. But once you finally meet him, he, everything makes sense. He has The Shining, and, very rare people have it. I see Dick almost treated him like a role model, like a parental figure. Now, Jack was still a parental figure, but I think, Halloran was just more understandable because Halloran knew what Danny was going through, and he can relate to what he was going through. I thought he was a great character, and I love the dynamic between them two because, Dick treated him like an actual being at his level. He didn't treat him like a 5-year-old or 6-year-old. He treated him as someone who is at his level, which Danny probably should be treated like because he showed that he was so mature for his age in this book, and that he could handle the big talks and he could handle the big discussions, and he could tell when something wasn't going good. And if we go to the opening chapter of this book where Jack was going into his job interview, where Ullman talked about Mr. Grady and how he killed his 2 daughters with an axe, and then he got a shotgun, proceeded to shoot his wife, and then shoot himself straight off the first interview, right off the bat, just to just for Ullman to let Jack know what he's getting into. Jack was like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm unfazed. This don't faze me. I'm different." Once they get into the hotel, they're getting shown around. It's pretty slow. It's a pretty slow pace. Obviously they're driving there, and it's a nice scenic view, and the hotel looks beautiful. And then they get there, everyone's still there, trying to move out. So things don't seem too bad then. But they're they're looking around the hotel, and Danny sees the vision of the blood everywhere, and is immediately freaked out. But once he talks to Halloran, he tells him that just look away, and the things will be gone. It'll be all gone. So then Danny tries that, and it ends up eventually working for quite a bit. Okay, sorry, I had to take a call, but I also do have the physical copy of The Shining. This is the first, video where I do have one. It's just the Barnes & Noble's version. It's pretty cool. I got the paperback, so it's like 600 something pages. And it's pretty good. But it is day 2 of me filming. And, I had to put the same shirt on because for the aesthetic of the video, so it just doesn't switch up like that. We're going to continue The Shining right here. What a book. What a book. My gosh. Also, what I forgot to say is that this book is a very, very slow burn. So, you get through the book and things are happening, but things aren't happening. You know what I mean? But it's like I have a good slow burn. Like, you know that it's setting up because there's going to be payoff. And everything you're reading, you're still really into it. But, all in all, not much has happened. Like, this chapter is, where Jack is, there's wasps. I don't know, there's a lot of wasps in a lot of the book. Also, I love to talk about, the scene where Jack was trying to get to, the snowmobile. Or where, Wendy kind of wanted to leave. And, so Jack went out there and he went to the snowmobile. And, in his mind, he didn't want to leave, so he, sabotaged the snowmobile. But, his intrusive thoughts are, convincing him every single, not to leave. Almost like the demons are telling him not to leave, and I just thought it was, a very interesting dilemma he was facing. And then you got scenes the ghosts are using the elevator all the time, so you just constantly hear the elevator going up and down and up and down and up and down. I don't think I need to talk about a bunch of the story because if you're watching this right now, I assume you've read the book. So I don't need to get into all the crazy logistics and every single detail, but yeah, let's talk about the the ending of the story. So a big pivotal point in Jack's job at the Overlook is to watch the boiler. Make sure the boiler does not, break, because they established that early.
Hey pal, you just blowing from stupid town?
They established early in the book that if the boiler gets overheated, it will explode and the hotel will blow up. So then Jack's doing his job, and then as things progress, Jack kind of gets slowly more and more distracted by his job, and then there's points in the book where he's so busy looking for stuff downstairs in the basement that he forgets to set the boiler. And it's at 220 degrees when it's only supposed to be at 180 max. So then he had a very close call there. But he finally got it down. He always constantly says it's my job, I have to do it. So every 4 or 5 times a day he has to, check the boiler to, make sure it's good, make sure it's fine. And, establishes that a lot throughout the book. And then, towards the ending of the story, Jack gets drunk with a bunch of ghosts in the hotel, including, Mr. Grady and, I don't know, some other guy. I forgot his name. Oh, the bartender Lloyd. Getting drunk with Grady and the bartender Lloyd. And, the first time he's drinking, right? He's on the counter. He thinks he's drinking it, at least. And then, Lloyd keeps getting more. Then eventually Lloyd disappears, and he's like, whoa, what happened? And he could hear people laughing behind him, are they laughing at me because, they think I'm crazy for talking to no one, and he looks behind him, they're gone too. So, stuff like that. And then eventually it gets to a breaking point when he finally does end up drinking, and, he's having this party with all these guests, and, Wendy can kind of hear it faintly, actually. So, she's kind of, obviously she's scared and confused, but, she's scared to kind of go downstairs. So then as Jack's partying, he gets drunk, he talks to his lady, he dances with her, and then he passes out. So he's, kind of having a hangover. Then Wendy finally goes down to check on him, and she could smell the drunkenness off of his, breath. And, he's been sober for 14 months. So this is, a huge point in the story for me. She smelled his breath, and she's like, oh no, he's been drinking. And then she checked the bottles, though, there was nothing in it. And then eventually Jack, grabs her ankle, and this is when he starts, being violent, because during the party, like, Mr. Grady was talking to him. He's like, you gotta be more assertive, you gotta, they're not structured to reason. Like, you gotta reason with them, and you gotta be a little harsh with them. So he's like taking it to heart. So now he's like trying to, beat up Wendy, and Wendy gets the bottle, cracks over his head, knocks him out, drags him to the pantry room, and then goes upstairs and kind of just watches Danny as he's trapped downstairs, because he can't really get out. But then Mr. Grady's like ghost comes back, and he's telling him like, you can't even beat up your wife. And then Jackie's like, I promise. And then Mr. Grady lets him out, and then he is on the hunt. Now he's gonna kill his wife, and he's like saying all this profanity, saying all these like crazy things. And then he actually tries to kill her, and he gets I forgot what sport it was, because it's not really popular in America. But he got like one of those, basically a mallet, a big old mallet, and he was like basically gonna kill his family with it. There's a couple close attempts, and then I just thought this ending scene was so thrilling. Like, I was at the edge of my seat, and it was just a book. Like, I kind of knew what was gonna happen, but like I also didn't fully know what was gonna happen. So like I was still on edge this whole time. And it's a very, it's a very frightening scene. It's a very thrilling scene. He hits her on the shoulder, like breaks stuff. Stuff is bleeding. She stabs him in the back, and he like almost dies, and then he comes back. He's like, oh, you killed me. I don't know if she like actually killed him, and then like the ghost took over his body for a little bit or not. But then like, you got the scene where she like locks herself in the bathroom, and then, he uses the mallet, just tries to break open the door, and then, she gets razor blades and like, cuts his like hands like a couple times, and then like she accidentally cuts herself. So then she gets out, but then she gets saved by Dick Halloran or whoever. She gets saved by Dick, and like this whole time he was in Florida. He told the boy to call him if he needs him, and Dick was like chilling in Florida doing all this stuff. And then he heard Danny call him, so then he immediately got on a flight, had some turbulence, had some trouble. His car got stuck in the road, and then like he had to get a ride and stuff. But then eventually he got a snowmobile. Then as soon as he got there, Jack just, boom, breaks his jaw, breaks his head, skull. And then, you think he's dead because he's like just limp on the ground. And then Jack now goes for Danny. And then as he goes for Danny, as he's doing it, he realizes, like, oh no, the boiler. I did not touch it in a long, long time. So then, Danny escapes, and it turns out Dick and Wendy were both still alive and well and doing good. And then all three of them got out, and then the hotel blew up with Jack. But not before Jack could say, I love you, and like I'm sorry, just run, to his son. And then Jack dies in the hotel while the hotel burns down and, explodes and all that stuff. And they ride off into not the sunset because it's winter, but they ride off into the open area. And then it cuts to, the epilogue is cutting to summer, where, Dick is still a prominent figure in Danny's life. And he's probably more like a father figure now. And, all is seen as well. And then that's the end of the book. And I assume Dr. Sleep picks up at a more recent time, probably a time when Danny's a grown up, and I don't know if Dick is still in it. I don't know if his mom is still alive, or I don't know anything about the Dr. Sleep sequel. So that's the story of the book. And overall, I thought this was a very very good book. I don't have like really any major gripes. I have no really nitpicky stuff. I don't know. There's a couple, there was a couple moments that like maybe drag for like 10 pages or something. I don't know. But like nothing bad, Overall, it's a very tight, concise book. It's not too long. It's the longest Stephen King book I've read so far, but I haven't read too many long ones. But, out of the 4 Stephen King books I've read so far, this one is my favorite. I don't really grade things, but if I were to grade this on like a scale of 10, I'd give it definitely I give it a 9, like a decent 9 if we're going Fantano ratings. Now I think we're gonna get into something that was the most popular discussion in the Shining whole universe, is the comparison between the book and the movie. Stanley Kubrick's movie, which was released like 3 years later, and they're both pretty fairly different. Now I'm gonna say my first hot take is that, you know, I love both the movie and the book. I rewatched the movie right after I finished the book, and the thing I do have to say is that I think people blow it out of proportion how different it is. But a lot of people say like it is just the base plot and there's no similarities after that. But I think there are a lot. I think the book and movie are like actually pretty similar. 80% of the scenes from the movie are the same as the book. The thing I will say about the movie, though, I think, you know, a lot of the best scenes in the movie aren't in the book. You know, the "here's Johnny" part, the fact that he has an axe, which just makes it a lot scarier, I guess. Stuff like "all work, no play" when he types that, like that's an iconic scene. Oh, the scene where Danny's riding his bike and he sees the twins and then they're like dead on the floor. You know, all classic scenes, and none of them are in the book, because, you know, I was like telling my girlfriend about me reading this, and she was like, "Oh, let me know when you get to the scene of the two girls in the hallway. Let me know when you get and like none of them are in the book." It also has some scenes that they added that I don't really care for, such as, you know, the endings, which I'll get to later. But for now, we'll talk about like the biggest reason. The biggest reason Stephen King didn't like the adaptation and was the character of Jack Torrance. He's seen as a psychopath in the movie from the start, and, you know, the ghosts aren't a major influence on him. They just kind of like bring it out. So he has a character arc going from, you know, kind of crazy to full-blown psychopath, while the book goes from, you know, trying loving father who, you know, tries his best to stay away from alcoholism and, you know, suffering from writer's block and just can't catch a break. Then he progresses his arc into, you know, turning crazy and turning insane because he finally snaps because of the ghosts. Now I do find the stories version more compelling, only because you can relate to him at the start and you understand and you want to root for him and you want him to succeed, and you even like during the end, when he finally snaps and when he finally goes crazy. I mean, personally, I was wanting a way to have, you know, Jack still come out of this all right. Like I knew his fate, but I was still holding on because I knew deep down he was trying, and I was just like, you know, if he could get away from this, he'd be fine. And even like Wendy and Danny said that, and the bond between the family was, I think, much closer in the book than the movie. And the movie kind of feels like he has hated his wife all along. You know, there was things that, you know, hinted at Jack molesting Danny in the movie, and, you know, I didn't really care for that. Even Danny, I didn't really like Danny's character in the movie. First of all, he's not nearly as, you know, mature as he is in the book. He's kind of more like a child, and he kind of spends the whole movie screaming and in distress and can't move. And I understand he's like 6, but, you know, in the book, his character is a lot stronger. His character felt like the main driving reason, and I just don't think the movie did that right. Also, Tony, I didn't really like the finger thing when he was like staying it. I liked how it was just kind of in his mind, because if it's a different personality, if it's an imaginary friend, obviously it's going to be inside your mind as it's telling you stuff. But, you know, if it's talking to you out loud, it just doesn't feel as, you know, believable. And I just think it just missed the mark on what Tony is. And then Wendy, in the book, she's a lot stronger than in the movie. But I don't know if this is popular or not, but I actually still like Wendy in the movie, and I loved Wendy in the movie from a horror aspect, but maybe not from a story aspect. But I still like both Wendy's, and I don't think that like it's such a big problem. A big thing about this movie and the book is more driven on characters and story. I think the movie does best at just vibes. Obviously the music, which the book doesn't have, but the music is just so thrilling in the movie. It has the high violins, the screeching. It was just so chaotic, and it just adds to it, and it's constant, and it just makes everything ramp up in terms of like a scale, ramp up to 100. In terms of just scariness, and it just makes every scene that much better. I think the way Stanley Kubrick directs makes like the vibe that much more isolated. Just like, I don't know, his panning cameras, his eerie vibe, just like the 80s vibe in general. Now, the character of Halloran did dirty in my opinion, because in the movie it still showed him, getting on the flight, seeing the guy driving across, getting through all these troubles, and then in the movie he just died, just like that. Just died right away. As soon as he walked in, he died. And I didn't appreciate that, because you have all this character progression. You have him doing all this stuff just for what purpose does he serve in the end? Like, what's the point of him even being in the movie now? He just telling Danny about The Shining and basically just gave him a way out. His character did nothing, but in the book he was such a great character, and he basically was a parental figure for Danny. So I just don't understand how you could kill him off, and he's such a pivotal character. Obviously you kind of want consequences, so you'd want, like, probably Jack to kill someone, but I could see if he killed Halloran, but if Halloran like actually did something to further the plot, then maybe it would have worked. But other than that, I just see no reason to kill him. Even though it was a really cool scene, it was probably the scariest scene in the movie, in my opinion. Just the way he just popped out and started screaming, and just the axe cut looked so real too. I thought it was pretty cool. But then we also have like the maze part, the maze hedges compared to the animal hedges. I'm indifferent on this. I didn't like the maze being the grand finale of the climax, because I thought it was kind of dull, and it took too long, and it was just kind of, meh. I thought the hotel scene was way better, but if we compare the maze to the hedge animals, I think the maze would definitely look a lot better in the 80s than, some CGI hedge animals. So, I'm kind of glad he got rid of that stuff. But overall, I don't think there's crazy amount of differences besides maybe the ending and some character traits. But, both are classics still, in my opinion. And obviously, I think I'm saying things that, other people have said before, so I'm not going to dwell too much on it. There's my cat making noise. That is my video on The Shining. Let me know what you think about it. If there's anything you need to improve on, let me know. If there's any other books you want me to read, let me know in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, do all that stuff. The next book we will be reading is Carrie, and that was a really quick read. I already finished it. Probably took 3 days max, but I wasn't really trying to read it very fast. But yeah, we got Carrie coming next, and then after that we got Pet Sematary. Then after that we got Different Seasons, and then after that we'll be going to our big book, The Stand. So let me know which book you're most excited for next. And that has been another review for me. I will be releasing a shorter video either sometime later this week or next week. And yeah, that's it. That's the video. The King Journey is in full effect, and I have not lost any ambition to keep doing this, so that's a good sign. But it's been real with y'all. No, but it's been Starting Point, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.